Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. Erin Summers here. The Saints have wrapped up practice for the Carolina Panthers and will hold a walkthrough tomorrow before heading to Charlotte. While a lot of players have returned to the field, like quarterback Derek Carr, who missed the last 3 games, the cornerback room has been hit with a few new injuries. Already down was cornerback Paulson Adebo. Marshawn Lattimore and Kool-Aid McKinstry will also be out this Sunday. Cornerback Rico Payton, who has been out all week with a back injury, is listed as questionable, and head coach Dennis Allen said there is a chance that he'll play. DA did not go into who would play where, if Alante would shift permanently outside, as he has been playing inside at times, so we'll see how things play out on Sunday. Also out Sunday is wide receiver Bub Means and running back Kendre Miller. With Carr back on the field, the offense, however, should get a boost.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, hopefully that'll have a big positive impact. I thought this week in practice, I thought offensively, I thought we looked really sharp. You know, my hope is that carries over into the game. But I think anytime you get, a player like Derek that comes back, somebody with experience, he's broken a lot of huddles throughout his career. So just, being able to get the communication, everybody get lined up, make sure everybody's on the same page. I think that'll improve with a veteran quarterback back there.
Even though the Panthers are 1-7, allowing just under 34 points a game and only scoring 15.5, prep has not changed this week for the Saints.
I think every week you go into the game and obviously we're looking at the things that they do offensively, defensively, and in the kicking game. Trying to put together a game plan that we think gives us an opportunity for success. But as it is every week, it's really more about us. It's about our attention to detail and about our execution. And so that's really where our focus has been all week this week.
Someone who is always hard at work and wearing several different hats is Taysom Hill. He joins me today to talk about the Saints season so far and give us a little insight into Taysom himself. Taysom, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's awesome to steal you away because I know you have so much going on every week. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
What is a typical schedule for you? How many meetings are you in? What position is your main meeting group?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I would say this year has been a little bit unique. Just because we do so much together as a group, so we all sit in an install meeting together, which is great for me because Clint will be able to install and I'll get the coaching points, whether I'm playing halfback, tight end, receiver, quarterback, whatever it is. So that has made it, nice this year. And as far as, what position do I see myself? And, I really don't know. I would say it's kind of morphed into this tight end kind of hybrid receiver role, I would say.
You make a return to the field this past weekend. You catch some passes, you run some, and then you finally get to throw your first pass of the season. How good was that?
Yeah, it was great. It's been a bit of a tough year for me with the injuries and stuff, and I had been really excited to be part of this offense, play in this system with Clint, and to go through and miss so many games early has been a disappointing thing for me. So to be able to come back off the injury and be utilized and do different things was a ton of fun. And we fell short obviously and lost that game, but I think we did a lot of good things and had a lot of things that we could build upon.
That was just what you did on offense. Doesn't include what you did on special teams. Yeah. When you see a fumbled snap or one that looks errant like that, how excited do you get?
Yeah, when you have the opportunity to make a play on special teams, especially on like a punt return unit or something like that, those are plays that change outcomes of games. And I don't know what all the statistics are, but I know there's some statistics that
usually it means you win.
Yeah, carry a lot of weight in a win and a loss if you block a punt, and so when you see something like that happen, you definitely get big eyes, and I saw that happen, and I was really hoping we could turn that into a touchdown, but we'll take 2 points in the ball.
I'm sure the punter got big eyes too when he saw you running at him.
I think he was a little surprised at where the snap was, and had a couple surprises on that one.
Yeah, with the injuries that you've dealt with this year, how has this? I mean, it's only halfway through the year so far, but how has it been for you dealing with that?
Yeah, it's tough, and I think the normal person or average person that watches these games, they think about, obviously there's a physical aspect, and disappointment, and I was dealing with some lung issues early in the year, and then dealt with some ribs, and there's certainly significant amount of pain and discomfort that you're dealing with in those circumstances. But as an athlete, as you go through OTAs and you go through training camp and you're working out all off season to have the opportunity to compete and play in the season, and with hopes and aspirations to play in the postseason, and you don't get the opportunity to do that, it's really challenging mentally, and it's one of those things where you want to be available for your teammates. You want to do what you can to help the team win. And so that part for me was really challenging. As I mentioned earlier, it's been disappointing, to have a lot of excitement and then to start the season the way that we did and then not be available for the coaches and for your teammates has been hard. So I think for me that's probably been the most challenging thing, is managing those emotions.
Mentally, what do you do to get back to center? Do you lean on anybody or do anything to make sure that you are staying kind of upbeat and still positive through it?
Yeah, unfortunately this isn't the first time that I've dealt with these issues. And I'll tell you, my wife has been through it all with me, and so she's always my sounding board and the person that I trust and can communicate with and stuff. And I think it's important, in life, as an athlete, when you can't play, I feel like it's so important to find things that are still motivating to you. What are things that you can be doing that you can still be improving as a person? And I felt like there were still opportunities for me to become a better football player. I was dealing with injuries and I couldn't play, but I was able to, watch a little more film that typically I wouldn't be able to watch during a normal work week. And so I just found little things that I felt like that I could do to be better for when I was available for the team.
Sure. The 3 weeks that you missed before being able to come back, what have you seen that maybe you could help with?
I think it's important, and I think we have seen this, that when we have started fast, it's given us a lot of confidence as a team, and we know football is an imperfect game, and I think that it's important for us to play with a lot of confidence, and I think dealing with a lot of injuries and various things that we have, has made that a little more challenging. And so I think that's been an important thing for us, and is just to make sure that we go out and we expect to be successful on every play, and if we're not, make sure that we get ready to go be successful in the next one. So I think that, the veteran leadership on the team, I think that has been a point of emphasis.
Having somebody like quarterback Derek Carr return to the lineup, be back out there at practice, what kind of boost of energy or just confidence, like you said, does that give the team? Yeah,
it's been great. Spencer and Jake did a great job coming in and battling with us and for us and everything else. I think when you look back through OTAs and training camp, Derek was getting all those reps with everybody. When you start to think about a time on task, there's a certain level of confidence just because we've done it so many times. And so Derek has a very, calming, confident presence in the huddle. And again, I think that there's a challenging element as a backup when you just don't have the time on task with everybody. And Derek has had all those reps from, May OTAs to now.
And it's not only the reps, but also the ability to make adjustments when you don't have the same players in. I mean, he has 11 years of experience, so I think that plays into it as well. Playing alongside somebody like Alvin Kamara, what does that do for your game?
Well, Alvin's one of those guys that makes everybody better, for a couple of reasons. One, the way that he plays, when you see some of the runs and the stuff that he does, man, it's one of those things that you feel the energy, you feed off of that, and he has this innate ability of just making guys better around him. And then the second thing, when you play with a guy as good as he is, there's so much attention on 41 that it frees other people up, and so it certainly creates opportunities for other people when a defense has to, focus on him so much. And I think Clint has done a nice job of making sure he's featured, but then there are other opportunities where, he can be the decoy and it gives other guys opportunities. And, he's just one of those guys that makes everybody better.
I think we should just remind people that all injuries are not created equal, because some people can play through stuff depending on the level of the injury, and some requires some time off. So going back to last night, it was Halloween. What'd you do with your family?
We went and hung out with some of the guys. The old linemen got together, and my wife and kids went and hung out with them for a little bit, had dinner with those guys, and then there was a couple of us that got together and went trick-or-treating. Nice. So I got, my oldest is 4, my youngest is 1.5 years, and so we had a Black Panther and Superman that were out there trick-or-treating.
That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Are they allowed to eat all the candy that they want?
Not even close. No. I think Bo was able to have like a bag of fruit snacks before he went to bed last night, and I'm sure he was able to have some today, but we limit that.
That makes sense. You don't need them up all night.
Yeah.
When you go back to where you're from and your upbringing, I read something about your name.
Yeah.
You were named after a construction company.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say it was named after a construction company. So there was a family with the last name Taysom in Pocatello, and there was a park named Taysom Park. There was a construction company named Taysom Construction. So my parents had seen the park, heard the name, and liked it. So that's where it came from. It's
kind of fitting because you're a utility player, multi-tooled, faceted. So I don't know, it kind of fits.
Yeah, it worked out.
You started your career playing as the number 4, wearing number 4, and then changed to 7. What went into that? Yeah,
so in 2016, I lost a brother when I was in college, and so when I think about a quarterback coach, my older brother Dex, he played quarterback growing up in high school and in college, and we spent so much time, in the front yard and the backyard, making up games and throwing the ball, and I would say that like he was my quarterback coach growing up, and so in 2016 when he passed away, he always wore the number 7. That's what he wore in college, and so I had a buddy on the team at BYU that was wearing the number 7 at the time, and he was gracious enough to let me wear it my senior year, and so I wore it in 2016, and it was available here, and so I wanted to. It was one of those things that my brother obviously meant a lot to me, and when you lose someone close, a loved one, I think it becomes this challenge of what do you do to make sure you remember them.
Yeah.
You know, what are things that you can do that you think about them and honor them type of thing, and so wearing his number was an easy decision.
What do you think he would say to you now about what you've done with your career?
Oh,
Would he believe it?
Yeah, I think so. He was always a big fan of mine. So when you think about fans and the guys that was always in it, he was one of those for sure.
What facets of his game did you take with you?
You know, I feel a little bit bad for him because he was kind of the I don't want to say the runt of the litter, but he was the smallest. He was the smallest brother in the family. But man, he was tough as nails. He was fast, this quick, mobile, quarterback that was just a tough, savvy football player. So he made a lot of plays with his arm, but he made a lot of plays with his legs too. And but he was 6 feet tall and maybe weighed $190 or something like that, And I have an older brother that's above him that played defensive tackle at Arizona State, and so
yeah, probably a little bigger.
I was kind of the guy right in the middle, but yeah, I would say, man, his ability to make plays with his legs and my ability to make plays with my legs would probably be the biggest carryover.
When you go through some of the testing here, I know that you go test out of things sometimes. You test above everybody else. And I saw that they can't even test your power because the machine doesn't go fast enough.
I don't know about that. Look, I think that's a question for Dr. Ray.
Yeah.
He's kind of the mad scientist behind the scenes, and I show up in the weight room, and what he says, I do. So he's the one tracking all that stuff.
Is there any time where you're like, I can't do that, and you surprise yourself? Or have you just always been like this, where you can?
It's a tricky balance to find, right? Because certainly there are things that, if you put enough weight on the bar, that I'm not going to be able to do that, or there's certain things that you just won't be able to do, right? But I think there's a tricky thing to make sure that, hey, let's make sure that you're getting all the work you need and getting all the strength and all that stuff, but let's not put you in a vulnerable position where you're failing, And so we haven't hit that point, and I don't know that we will, to be honest.
This weekend, going against the Panthers, a team that you guys dominated, to open up the season with. I know you don't want to say, well, we beat them by so much that it's not going to be a big deal, but does it give you a little bit of boost to kind of see them on film and think about what you were able to do against them?
No, I mean, truthfully, my mind doesn't work that way. I think, listen, I respect every opponent we play in the NFL, and this league is very much like any given Sunday, and so I think it's important to not think that way. You gotta prepare. This is going to be a tough game for us. We got to go on the road to a motivated team. We're a motivated team, and so our preparation has to be better than what it was in week one. And the reality of it is it's tough to play teams twice a year, and you're putting together different game plans and so forth. And so I think we have to make sure that we execute at a higher level than we did week one.
Mm-hmm. What do you do outside of football?
I mean, I during the season it's tough. I don't get to spend as much time as I would obviously like to with my family. So when I have free time, I try to spend it with my wife and my two boys. And aside from that, I would say my biggest hobby in life is golf. I love to golf. That's my guilty pleasure in life. If I need to mentally get away from something, you can find me on the golf course. Aside from that, I grew up in Idaho. I grew up in the mountains, camped all the time, hunted, fished, all that stuff.
Yeah. What is your favorite place, or where was your favorite place to play golf?
Oh, it's a great question. Man, I don't know. I've been to some great places. I would say what's turning into like an annual trip with me and some friends is a course called Sage Valley in South Carolina. Mm-hmm. It's pretty special.
It's not hot?
We go in the off season, so we go February, March.
Oh, like right after the season's over. Okay, that makes sense.
It's a great time.
Yeah, that's awesome. What other sports did you play? Or did you excel at growing up?
So I played baseball when I was a little kid. Hurt my shoulder when I was going into high school, so I kind of stopped playing baseball in high school, and I ran track instead. And then I played basketball in high school. So football, basketball, ran track, and those were kind of the three that I did growing up. And but baseball was a big one until I got there.
Yeah. So was football, after baseball was kind of taken off the table, that was it? You always wanted to play football?
Yeah, I think so. And, as I mentioned, I'm the youngest of four, and I had seen two other brothers go play college football. And so I saw them, go to our high school and excel and go on and play college. And so they kind of created this vision in my mind that, one, like it was possible, and two, we'd go watch them play, and man, it was just the coolest experiences to go watch them play in those environments. And so that was always, like, growing up, I always wanted to play college football, and then it was kind of in the back of your mind that, man, it would be really awesome to have an opportunity to play in the NFL. But, like, I had seen brothers go play college sports, and they kind of paved that way where I was like, man, I could do this too. And so that's what it always was.
Now that you have gotten the opportunity to go play professionally, was it as cool as you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Man, I've had so many incredible experiences, so many incredible moments with teammates, and some experiences that's been created with family, it's just, it has been every bit as good as I could have ever imagined, and then some. I've had a really wonderful career, and it's meant a lot to me.
Well, it's been a lot of fun watching you play, and I know the
Thank you.
Saints fans appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining me for a few minutes here.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Appreciate Taysom. The game this weekend is a 12 o'clock kick, and you can watch it on CBS. Don't forget to tune into the pregame show at 11 a.m. on NewOrleansSaints.com, and join Scott Shanley, John DeShazer, and myself after the game for the postgame show. Thanks for listening, and go Saints.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast.